It's a 2017 Ford Galaxy. A bit dirty, but there we are. I'm just showing you how I've done disc and pad replacement. They're a bit problematic. I've had to get some of the more industrial tools out in order to do it. But I'm just about to start the other wheel, so I'll do a piece by piece video as I go. I found it a bit problematic trying to find somewhere to jack up from. I've jacked from the lower part of the spring holder. I did it on the other side and it all seems to be okay. These wheel nuts are a bit of an issue. They're supposed to be 21mm, and as you can see I've got a 21mm socket. Don't fit, not hoping now. Whereas the locking wheel nut that's provided by Ford, is 21mm, nicely. So what I've done is 22mm. It feels a bit loose on there, but it's sufficient. It cracks the wheels off, gets a good enough purchase. So take the wheel off. Okay, this wheel's the same as the other. It's fused. It's whereabouts aluminium's gone onto a steel hub. Tend to be a pain. I don't know why they insist on doing it that way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a flat bar in behind here, put it in behind the lower wishbone bolt, and put it against the back edge of the tyre around here. Use that to lever it off. Right. Okay, that's it all in place. Put a big bar. Okay, that's what was holding it on. It's mainly all this crud and crap down here. Makes an absolute nightmare of holding everything. But, I normally give that a flick over with a wire wheel. But my son-in-law's borrowed my full collection. I haven't got a single one. But as you may have seen on the first part of the video, on the other side that I did, I put copper slip all over this, just prevent it from binding. When attempting to get this disc off, the disc is also bound to the hub, so that's another issue we've got to deal with. Right, the first thing to be done is to remove this clip. I tend to do it with pliers. Some people use screwdrivers, but I find pliers are more than enough. There we go. That's that. Okay, next thing to do is to remove these caps. There's one on each of them. There's one. Where are we? One there, and then further down there's another one here. Both got to be taken off. They're just push-in plastic caps. They just keep the rubbish out. There we go. So that's those two. There. And then using you can see that or not, 7mm. It goes in there, and then I normally use a 10mm ratchet spanner, but because these are a little bit cruddy, I'm going to use a ratchet initially, just to break them. There we go, so this one. And the next one, which is down there. Okay, so that normally see the Right, so remove both of those. Once I've taken these out, I'll start again. Right, once they've got to the point where they don't seem to be coming out or doing anything, basically you want a flat-headed screwdriver. Put it in there, and then just push that bolt back. That's it. Same like that one. Get it in there. That's it. Okay. Now this piece is ready to come away from that piece. I normally get a lever. I tend to use a tire iron. Anything will do. They can be a bit problematic. You just got to persevere with them. They will come out. Okay. That's the actual free floating caliper off. You can see the piston. Obviously, is a long way out. Needs to be wound back in. Move these out pads. Some better days. And the next thing to do is behind here. There are two bolts. There's one there. If you follow down, one there. They're both 15mm. They seem to be super tight. The reason being is when they're put in with thread lock, like a sort of glue for bolts. So initially you'll have to use a big bar or a couple of spanners or something to sort of get the leverage sort of under this way, crack them down. Once you've got them to crack the first time, again I tend to use a ratchet spanner or a little sort of flexible spanner, flexible head ratchet, just wind them out. And then obviously this piece will then come away from the hub assembly, which then allows you to get the disc off, which is our second problem. Yeah, my 2-foot breaker bar is a bit long, but I've managed to get a little 8-inch, as it goes in there. I managed to do the top one, get the bottom one on it. They're tight, but they're not unmanageable. And then, yeah, 15mm ratchet spanner. Here we go. Okay. That's it. Select both of those out using the same method. Yeah, as I said, this is basically fused onto the hub, this piece here. I tried on the other side, I tried soaking solution, putting a spreader bar between here and there to try and force it out. I didn't have any joy, so I ended up putting my 3-legged puller. But I would imagine with persistence, as I said, just basically putting a spreader like this one here between there and there, which is how I did it, like that. I said, with persistence, I've no doubt it would go. Just needs maybe a little bit of heat on this area just to sort of free it up. But as I said, I'll go get me puller on there. Yeah, this is the insert out of an old brushless motor. I can't remember where it came from, where it kicked around. But it just seems to drop in there quite nicely. It worked out perfect. So, right, that's the puller set up. I would imagine a manual 3-legged puller would do the job. This is one of them tools that spends most of its life sat in a cupboard, but on the occasions when I use it, it's an absolute godsend. So, turn it on. Okay. Here we go. Out of the way. Going on, a little creaking. There we go. Now you can see why it'd be so problematic trying to get it off. You can see all the crap. Anyway, there we go. It's off. Right, the next job now that's off, I've given this a quick flick over with a wire brush. I'll put some copper slip on there before I put the disc back on, just try and help it not seize. Next thing to do is temporarily fit that back on there, obviously without the disc. Attach the caliper to it, and then use the rewind tool, which I'll go through in a minute. Okay, that's the caliper housing back on. Obviously no thread lock, don't put any additional thread lock on these bolts, you don't have to take it back out again. It just allows us to mount the caliper to it for the purposes of rewinding. It's in tight, but it's not done up to, you know, like the finishing torque. All right, this is the rewind kit on this particular vehicle. And, because it has to be threaded back in, it's what I'm looking for, which in this instance is number 7. Basically, these pins go into the adjacent holes in the piston, which you should be able to see. There's one there and one there. And basically, that just drops it like that. Those 2 pegs drop into the 2 holes. This section's these 2 pins are magnetic, which allow you to, in essence, do that. And the one that I've gone for, again on this vehicle, is the clockwise thread. But they also do a reverse thread. Depends on which way the piston has to screw in. On this wheel, the one I did earlier, had to be wound in clockwise. I assume that the near side will be the same. So I'll put it in and have a look. Just a quick rundown for anyone who hasn't used the rewind tool, who's decided to treat himself. I've only fitted the top bolt to allow the bottom to swing out, because this plate, which goes to get it on, it just looks over like that. And basically, that goes in behind there. But as it stands, the caliper, as you can see, is interfering with the brake pad retainer. So, I'm trying to do all this one-handed. By putting the caliper back, it allows you to do that, get it back in there. And then obviously you locate the pins, as I said, in there for the piston, which I'll try and do now. Anyway, you get the idea, so I'll set it up now. Okay, I've got it in. You can see this fitting here is 22mm. There, I'll just give that just a little nip, just make sure it's nice and tight. One issue that I do find is that you have problems with this whole caliper moving weight. Don't know what that was. This whole problem, the caliper moving whilst you're trying to sort it out. So I tend to put a clamp on there. Right, that's a clamp on there. Basically just helps the caliper stop swinging this way as you're trying to tighten it up. It should now be a case of just turning it in. You can see the piston moving. This one might be a reverse thread. Oh no, it's not on the piston properly. Do it again. Right, there we go. Basically, as you turn that, you see the piston threading back in. Basically go as far as it will go. Right, that's the piston threaded in as far as it will go. As you're winding this piece in clockwise, remember to ensure that that piece stays tight, so just kind of give it a twist periodically. I found when I was doing the other side that the piston hadn't quite retracted enough. Even though this had wound back in, the piston itself had threaded back in. So what I found I had to do is I had to just kind of give this a couple of extra screws, forcing the piston back. As you can see, it's still got a little bit to go. go, that's it. Now I can release all this. Okay. And then obviously remove the bolt for the caliper, which is there, under this one. Then remove the caliper bracket, copper slip, put the disc on, and then reassemble. Right, you see I put a fairly liberal coat of copper slip on there. Just an old tub I had donkey years. One thing I meant to say is always make sure that the caliper's supported. Don't never let it hang on the hose, because it can cause all sorts of issues. Normally, if you've got a coil over, you can normally get a cable tie and wrap it around the collar to support it out. But it seems to be okay here at the minute. Obviously now put the disc on. A word of advice: quite often when these discs turn up, the actual braking face is really oily. It's worth getting some thinners or something and cleaning the oil off, so it doesn't contaminate the pads. These are only cheap old things, and I think the thought of putting oil on them scared the life out of the fact I'm going to have to spend some additional money. So anyway, there we are. So reassemble the rest. So now for the reassembly. It's advisable to put thread lock back on these bolts, obviously the ones that hold the caliper. The only thread lock I've got is this ultra high strength stuff. It's a little bit of overkill, but I would advise to put thread lock of some description on there. Okay. Obviously once that's done, then you know, this assembly can go back on and start rebuilding the brakes. Incidentally, when you come to do these bolts, you only need a tiny little bit of thread lock. And you can see that's plenty, absolutely plenty. Okay, I've just done them up hand tight with the ratchet spanner. Just give them a couple of good nips with the breaker bar, until you feel that it's nice and tight. I mean, you haven't got to sort of burst blood vessels, but reasonably tight. The thread lock will do the main job, providing it's tight enough. Ordinarily, with an older car, I normally put copper slip in here and in there on both sides. Just helps the pads to move more free. Also helps to stop the dreaded squeal. But they seem to be okay, and it wasn't squealing before, so I'm going to make the assumption it's going to be okay this time around. There we go. That's it. Now put the caliper back on. There we go. There we are. That's it. Bolt it all back up. You can see that bolt there is catching. Push that bolt back just a touch. That's it. There we go. First one in, obviously no thread lock. This is a floating caliper, so the idea is this piece, as it's operating the brakes, this piece can move independently of the caliper housing, so you need these to remain sort of free and unhindered, greased and what have you, and it allows the caliper to do that, which allows the brakes to apply, release, etc. Right, put the bolts in. See, as I said, this assembly slides over that pin, obviously because it's only got a single piston at the back, as the piston is applied outwards, so this whole assembly will move that way, allowing the two to pinch together. The idea of the floating pin, obviously vibration of the disc and whatever will open it. I've just done these up with the ratchet spanner. Now just give them a final nip with a a ratchet. Again, same story, they don't need to be silly tight. You know, it's more, you know, providing they're tight enough. Obviously the two caps. These ones. Obviously these won't prevent the car from running, but they'll definitely prevent crap from getting in there. There we go. So a little bit of copper slip on here, just to stop the wheel from seizing. That's it, job's done. Got to remember to put the spring back on the retainer. That prevents this. That prevents these two parts sort of opening that way. They're a bit fiddly. They seem to be better on these ones. Some of the ones I've done in the past have been an absolute nightmare, but these ones don't seem to be too bad, thankfully. It's the basic one. I'll do this one-handed. There we go. Once I've got them to that point, I'll just little hammer. Just tap it in. That's it. So, just push that bit back in there, make sure it's all, everything's entirely. There we go. There we go. Plenty of copper slip on there. Obviously try not to get too much on the threads. It doesn't matter a little bit. Only the bolts, provided they're tight enough, will stay on there. The other thing as well is to make sure that when you finish, none of this splash guard is catching on the discs. Either that, you'll end up with a god awful bloody grind. It tends to be these weaker corners here. I just need to give them just a little push. There we go. Put the wheel back on, all done.